All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Happy holidays to everyone, and it's somewhat my time of the week as I'm going to be giving you some NFL picks today, but I'm just going to be talking about the Christmas Day triple header tomorrow. And then, of course, I'll be back on here Friday talking about the two games on Saturday as well as the bulk of the games on Sunday and the Monday night affair. But nonetheless, we've got three games in the National Football League tomorrow, two with playoff implications. And of course, when the National Football League put this slate of games together for Christmas Day back in the spring, they were expecting, big time importance for all three of these games. Why? Because five of the six teams that are playing tomorrow were all in the playoffs last year. In the case of the Lions and Vikings, the Lions are 15-2, while the Vikings are 14-3. The Chiefs, of course, were in the Super Bowl last year. Of course, they're not going to the playoffs this year, especially after the knee injury to Patrick Mahomes. And then, of course, so many injuries have derailed things for the Washington Commanders. Nonetheless, I still think that we are in store for three good games tomorrow because the teams that are out of postseason contention, they want to finish on a positive note. And like I said, there are some teams competing tomorrow that do have playoff aspirations, and some it comes down to seeding. So I think we are in store for three good games, and I want to start with the afternoon games. We got the 6-8-1 Dallas Cowboys traveling to the somewhat nation's capital, the shadows of the nation's capital, if you will, to take on the 4-11 Washington Commanders. And of course, we saw Dallas's playoff hopes go up in smoke a couple of weeks ago. Dallas has lost their last two, both at home, first to the Vikings and then to the Chargers. And they want to try to finish on a positive note. And Dallas, um, unlike the other teams in the National Football League, they're not going to finish, or they have the opportunity to not finish with either a winning record or a losing record. Dallas cannot finish with a winning record at this point, as they're 6-8-1. They're trying to get back to 500, and of course, they had that tie. For the Commanders, of course, it looks like they're shutting down Jaden Daniels for the rest of the season, and I think that's the right move. Whole lot of nothing going on with the Commanders right now, and I think a big part of that is just the fact that Jaden Daniels really was never healthy this season. For Dallas, I think they're going to try to go out there and take care of their business. Of course, the Commanders have had issues defensively all season long, and I expect Dallas to exploit that. We just saw Philadelphia go through this Commanders defense last weekend, and Dak Prescott hooking up with George Pickens and CD Lamb, I think, could be a recipe for disaster for Washington. Like I said, Dallas wants to finish on a positive note. George Pickens definitely wants to have a big game as he's looking to get paid this offseason. The Cowboys come in favored by 8.5 points over their NFC East rivals, but I like them by 14, 34-20. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we've got the 8-7 Detroit Lions traveling to take on the 7-8 Minnesota Vikings. And of course, if you are Detroit, your playoff hopes are hanging by a thread. At this point, the only hope that the Lions have, they have to win their last two games, and they have to hope that Green Bay loses both of their games. If Green Bay wins on Saturday, in spite of what the Lions could be able to do tomorrow, it's all over for the Detroit Lions. Okay. So I'm looking at this game, and of course, we know that the Lions can score points. It's going to be easier said than done going up against this Vikings defense. Remember, the Vikings did defeat the Lions earlier this season at Ford Field. Um, it's not going to be as easy for the Lions to score points against this Vikings defense, but I still think they're going to have their opportunities. I think the biggest thing for the Lions with their offense, try to get touchdowns as opposed to field goals against this Vikings defense. On the flip side, for Minnesota, no J.J. McCarthy once again. He's out with the hand injury, and now it's going to be Max Brosmer. If you're the Lions, you have to take advantage of that. Why? Because so many injuries for Detroit on that side of the football, and they've just been decimated all season long. Justin Jefferson, one of the more talented receivers in the National Football League, but also one of the more frustrated receivers this season, as he hasn't had the quarterbacks who can get him the football like he is expected to. The Lions come into this game favored by 7.5 points. I think they're ready to handle their business. I like Detroit on the road, 30-17. And then finally, the nightcap in the AFC West is we've got the 12-3 Denver Broncos traveling to take on the 6-9 Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, Denver was just one of two teams to defeat Kansas City last year in the regular season. They've already defeated them so far this season, and of course, they're going for the season sweep. Albeit things have been a little bit different for the Chiefs in their last couple of games. So many issues at quarterback for the Chiefs right now, and I say that due to the injuries. Of course, we know Patrick Mahomes is out, and it looks like Gardner Minshew, after one game, could be joining him as well. Not a good recipe for disaster, or a recipe for success, rather, if you're Kansas City, having to go so deep down into your quarterback depth to get somebody out there to have to deal with this Broncos defense. The Broncos defense that to me was embarrassed last week at home, courtesy of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Denver is going to be focused to get back on track. I think that game against Jacksonville, and no disrespect to Jacksonville because they are a good team, I think got their attention. And I think Sean Payton and company will be laser focused for this one. The Broncos come in favored by 13.5 points at Arrowhead. I'm really interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be there. First game without Mahomes as the starting quarterback. Also, first game in Kansas City since the news about the Chiefs leaving Missouri in favor of the neighboring Kansas. So I really want to see how the fans react to that one. But nonetheless, I like Denver to handle their business tomorrow night by the score of 30-16. So, folks, those are my picks for the three games on Christmas Day in the National Football League. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, like I said, definitely be sure to check out this channel on Friday, as I will be breaking down the rest of week number 17 in this NFL season. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it will be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you are on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks as always for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Happy holidays, everyone, and be well.